This video today is really my own impressions of what I'm seeing with regards to America itself and how it's projecting this division against Trump. I've been telling a lot of people over the past 6 months, if not a year, how Hillary Clinton continually bashed Trump during the campaign, and really she had the Democratic Party behind her doing that. And what are the Democratic Socialists? Yes, that's true, they are the Socialists. And I've been trying to look at the whole picture of what is the intention of why are they doing this? What is going to be their long-term goal? Well, to begin with, let me just say this. The Socialists' intention is to instigate the New World Order. And anybody who knows about certain places around the United States, in Georgia there's a set of granite stones called ley stones. Nobody knows who put them there. And anyway, basically it's an overview of the same philosophies that Saul Alinsky taught in his Rules for Radicals book. And Hillary Clinton actually was a follower of Saul Alinsky. Saul Alinsky was a communist. He was a socialist. And here's the premise of what I'm trying to get at. According to the Georgia ley stones, the United States, the world itself, cannot go above I believe it's 500 million. And according to the U.S. Census, and based on, I guess, global census records, the United States plus the world equals out to about 800 million, which means that 300 million people have to die. And the socialist agenda in the United States is to create confusion, disillusionment. Everybody is being attacked for their philosophies and their opinions about Trump. And it's ludicrous to believe that in 8 years' time, people's rational idea that everybody's entitled to their opinion would no longer be valid anymore. That it's now about Trump saying what he says and people are totally against him. And it's not because he's doing something wrong. It's because the socialists don't agree with him. The Democrats don't agree with him. And instead of people pointing that out, saying, well, you know, if everybody's entitled to their opinion, why and how do you have this somehow supernatural ability or power to dictate to people, which is what Obama did for 8 years? Where did you get this power from? Who gives that to you, that you can denounce Trump and not have to have valid reason to do so, and nobody ever says anything about it? Nobody retaliates. And I'm speaking of the Republican Party. The Republicans hold both the House and the Senate, and yet you see this background evil of the Democrats continuing to show their dominance over the political system, the establishment. And I think you're starting to see really through the veil of secrecy that the Democrats have created, which is keep people in the dark, keep people stupid about what is our long-term final goal, which is to create the New World Order. And that is to get rid of people who don't agree with the socialistic viewpoint. And I have to mention George Soros, because financially he is a multi-millionaire, and he's been pushing the agenda for the past 9 or 10 years, even before Obama became president, that we must have a global government. We must have a global system in place that brings all the nations of the world together to create this global government system. And now the next stage of this whole system is to create a financial global economy, which is, they're talking over and over again about the stock market's going to crash eventually. We know it's going to happen. That is the globalists' next agenda as a part of the New World Order, is to create one currency that will be valid everywhere in the world. And the United States and its dollar is the only thing left that continues to control the permissibility of other countries having their own sovereign identity, their own sovereign currency. The Japanese still have their yen. You know, Russia has its own currency. The Muslims themselves have the dinar, which is an actual gold piece. And for the socialists to take over, they have to destroy that hub, that rock that keeps it together, and that's the United States dollar. You destroy the dollar, you destroy the reserve currency that controls, if not holds it all together. So once that happens, the next stage of it is going to be that you're seeing this. People are bashing, destroying the fundamental belief that religion is about only one particular belief, and that's really what the atheists have been pushing for since the 1960s, which is there is no religion. And when the New World Order begins, I guarantee you they are going to create a one world religion too, because you know, you have all of these people fighting with each other, and a new global government would basically say, if we all believe the same thing, there won't be any more fighting. There won't be any more death. Well, the Muslims, I don't know how they're going to see it. Christians do not believe that we'll even be here when that starts, because we'll know that the Antichrist shows himself. That means once it starts, we'll be raptured up, and there won't be anybody left. And I think that event is going to happen, because if the U.S. dollar collapses, it's going to have to be the fact that there aren't any people left who are paying into the tax system, or there won't be enough people to keep it going, because they're not going to be there anymore. The majority of the people that Obama let come into this country, they don't pay any taxes anyway. And I'm talking about the illegal immigrants, like the Mexican. Definitely the Mexican comes here, they get free everything at our expense. We're paying the tax, but they don't pay anything. And if anybody says, oh no, they pay taxes, well, I'm sorry, but they don't have Social Security numbers. So how are they going to pay tax if the government doesn't have anywhere to put it? In other words, you can't say that a Mexican who's here illegally pays taxes, but we don't have any way to identify who they are. So that makes no sense that a Mexican would even have that right or that choice to pay taxes. I worked for an insurance company, and I always saw these bogus medical claims come in. Why were they bogus? Because when you keyed in that Social Security number, it didn't exist. And it was because people were fraudulently claiming things, and a lot of them actually were illegals who were given bogus, fraudulent Social Security numbers so that they could get this health care, even though legally they weren't American citizens. And that was the premise of Obama. He let them come in here because, number one, he wants to help usher in the New World Order, and that is destroy the infrastructure of America, destroy all the other nations of the world who are civilized by forcing in the number of refugees that we're seeing from the Middle East, and the hatred that exists between them and their philosophy of world domination, which is everybody accepts our religious belief and nobody else's religion will be tolerated. And in 2001, people have totally forgotten how many died in the Trade Center and the Pentagon, because why? The socialists don't want you to remember what happened. They don't want you to know that 3,000 people died, and that is why, for me, we ought to be bringing up 9/11 all the time, because people do not understand that the terrorists caught their hands on those aircraft because they came across the border, and the United States wasn't stopping them. They were letting them come across the border, and then what did we do? We gave them all the freebies you could imagine. Taught them how to fly airplanes, gave them free visas, gave them this, gave them that. And then after it happened, people were kind of like in a wake-up call. They realized, hey, wait a minute, something just happened here, and we could have stopped it had we stopped them from coming across the border. Trump is trying to stop that from happening again. Obama didn't try to stop it because that's what he was advocating the whole time he was president. We must let them come no matter who they are, no matter where they're from. We must let them come in. The socialists are doing that today. They're totally saying that. We can't have a wall because we're going to be hindering them from coming into the country to totally destroy us again, to try and take over whatever it is that the Islamic belief holds for the future of the world, which is the infidels must die and our beliefs must, prevail. It has to exist even after they've destroyed everything else. And it all goes back to Donald Trump again. The American people voted for him for one reason, because he wanted to do what's right for this country. And I totally and personally, I believe Donald Trump is our judge. Israel had judges that God sent to show the Israelites that they were doing wrong. And these judges brought them through these trials and these tribulations that God put on them to show them that they had to return to Him. America has done the same thing. We've turned against our Christian foundation as a nation. And you don't believe it, go back through history and you can see the Constitution was created based on God, based on individual rights. But people cloud that whole subject and say, oh, that didn't mean nothing, it was symbolic or whatever. Well, if we don't hear Donald Trump and we don't do what he says we should do as a nation, then I'd say the socialists' next agenda is, once he's out of there, then we can continue what Obama began in 2008 and destroy everything else that's left of this country. And when they've done it, then George Soros, Saul Alinsky's radical viewpoints, everything else can go to total fruition. Because if Hillary Clinton had won, we'd already be there. We'd probably already have just been destroyed. Because the more they come in, the more they can kill us, the more they can destroy this country. And for people who don't believe that and they don't want to see the reality, then I would say this: 3,000 people died in vain because we haven't learned anything since 9/11. We haven't stopped it from going on again. People don't want to know what it's about because they want the government to control them. And that's why when Trump won, they knew that free is over. They're not going to let him have it anymore. So they're the ones bashing, using the socialists, bashing Trump all the time. We want it the way it was because we want a socialist regime to continue ruling over this country. And if you don't see that and if you don't stand against it, then whatever happens to you, whatever happens to this country, it's your fault and the people who did not take a stand and stand against it. That's what God is telling us. You must take a stand on what you know is right. And that is turning against things that are abominations. Homosexuality, transgender acceptance, acceptance that all narcotics, all opiates are now permissible and allowed, and they'll say, oh, well, we have to have it for medical reasons. Bull crap. Murder Incorporated, Planned Parenthood, abortion itself, these things are abominations to God. It's immoral. If you don't stand for what you believe in, it's going to be gone, and then you're not going to have a chance to say anything, because the socialists are going to say, you can't say that anymore. It's over.